First contact and betrayal. The massive vessel appeared without warning, materializing just beyond Luna's orbit. Earth's detection systems barely registered the anomaly before the ship was there. A gleaming obsidian structure that dwarfed the International Space Union's largest vessels. Panic rippled through Earth's defense networks, but no aggressive actions followed. Commander Elena Reyes stood on the observation deck of the ISU Pathfinder, Earth's flagship, and studied the alien vessel through narrowed eyes. 20 years of military service hadn't prepared her for this moment. Humanity's first contact with extraterrestrial intelligence. Status report, she demanded, her voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through her veins. Lieutenant Commander Jackson pulled his gaze from the view screen. They're broadcasting on all frequencies, Commander. It's a greeting. The alien transmission came through in perfect English, a melodic voice that seemed almost musical in its cadence. People of Earth, we are the Mithridian Alliance, a coalition of 17 sentient species from across the galaxy. We come in peace and welcome you to the greater community of spacefaring civilizations. The weeks that followed were a whirlwind of diplomatic exchanges, technological demonstrations, and cultural sharing. The Mithridians, primarily represented by the Arxans, tall, slender beings with iridescent skin and 4 arms, expressed genuine fascination with human culture, art, and history. Your species is remarkably adaptable, Ambassador Vexella commented during one diplomatic session, her large luminous eyes blinking in what humans had learned was a sign of admiration. Most young species require centuries to achieve what you've accomplished in mere decades. Earth's nations, for once united in purpose, embraced the opportunity. The United Earth Council was hastily formed, with Commander Reyes appointed as Earth's security advisor. Something about the Mithridians' easy acceptance bothered her, but she kept her concerns private. They're offering us everything we've dreamed of, Council President Okafor said during a closed session. Faster than light travel, clean energy, medical advancements beyond our wildest imagination. Precisely, Reyes countered. What do they want in return? Nothing comes without a price. The answer came 3 months after first contact. Ambassador Vexella requested a private audience with the Council, where she revealed the Mithridians' true interest. Your planet contains the highest concentration of certain elements we've ever encountered, she explained, displaying a holographic periodic table where several elements glowed brightly. Particularly interesting is what you call hafnium. In its stable isotope form, it's crucial for our quantum navigation systems. We can certainly discuss mining rights and fair trade agreements, President Okafor offered. Vexella's expression shifted subtly. I'm afraid you misunderstand. The Mithridian Alliance doesn't negotiate for resources with pre-ascension species. The monitors in the Council chamber suddenly displayed real-time footage of Earth's outposts on Mars and Europa. Both were under attack by vessels similar to the one that had made first contact. The casualties were immediate and devastating. What is the meaning of this? President Okafor demanded, rising from his seat. The standard protocol, Vexella replied calmly. Your species will be preserved, of course. A percentage of your population will be relocated to designated preservation habitats. The rest will work the extraction operations on Earth and your moon. Commander Reyes was already on her feet, weapon drawn. You planned this from the beginning. Of course, Vexella replied. Your species showed remarkable potential, which is precisely why controlled integration is necessary. Unregulated development of species like yours invariably leads to conflict. This is more efficient. Security forces rushed into the chamber, but they were met with an invisible barrier. Vexella tapped a device on her wrist. Your weapons have been neutralized throughout this facility. Your orbital defenses are currently being disabled. I suggest you prepare your people for transition. Resistance will only increase casualties. The attack was swift and comprehensive. Earth's meager space defenses were overwhelmed within hours. The Mithridian vessels established orbit over major cities, their presence a looming threat that required no explanation. In the chaos of the initial attack, Commander Reyes managed to escape the council chambers with a small group of military and scientific advisors. They retreated to a hardened facility deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, an old Cold War relic that had been maintained out of historical interest rather than strategic necessity. "They've crippled our communication networks," Dr. Sophia Chen reported, her fingers flying across multiple keyboards. "But they've missed some of our older systems. Apparently, our obsolete technology wasn't worth their attention." "What about our assets in space?" Reyes asked. "The Pathfinder managed to evade the initial assault," Colonel Wei reported. "Captain Okonkwo took her out to the asteroid belt. 4 other vessels made it out with her." "Not much of a resistance force," General Santos muttered. "It's what we have," Reyes replied firmly. "And it's more than they expect." Vexella was confident we'd surrender immediately. Dr. Chen looked up from her screens. "We intercepted a transmission from their command vessel. They're giving us 48 hours to officially surrender before they begin population management procedures." A heavy silence fell over the room. "So we have 48 hours, Reyes finally said, straightening her shoulders. "I want everything we've learned about their technology analyzed. Every scrap of data, every demonstration they've given us. They've spent 3 months showing off their advanced technology. I want to know if they accidentally showed us anything we can use against them." Dr. Chen frowned. "Commander, even with what they've shown us, the technological gap is enormous. We'd need years, maybe decades to catch up." "We don't need to catch up," Reyes replied. "We just need to surprise them. Humanity's great strength has never been our technology. It's our adaptability, our creativity when our backs are against the wall." Her gaze swept the room, taking in the grim faces of Earth's remaining leadership. "And right now, our backs are very firmly against the wall." The next day, scattered resistance formed worldwide as the reality of the situation became clear. Military forces launched desperate attacks against Mithridian positions, while civilian hackers attempted to breach alien systems. All were swiftly and efficiently neutralized. In a public broadcast, Vexella addressed Earth's population with the same serene confidence she'd shown in the council chamber. "Your species' response is not unexpected," she said. "But understand that the Mithridian Alliance has integrated 43 species over the past millennium. This process is refined and inevitable. Your continued resistance will only result in increased suffering." In the underground facility, Commander Reyes watched the broadcast with narrowed eyes. 43 species, she murmured. "And they all just gave up." Dr. Chen looked up from the alien data she was analyzing. "Maybe they didn't have a choice." "There's always a choice," Reyes replied. "And they've made a critical error in their assessment of humanity." "What's that?" General Santos asked. A cold smile formed on Reyes's lips. "They think we're going to play by their rules." As the 48-hour deadline approached, Earth's formal response was transmitted to the Mithridian command vessel. It was brief and not what Vexella expected. "The people of Earth respectfully decline your terms. We propose an alternative. Leave our solar system immediately, or we will be forced to demonstrate why that would be in your best interest." In the Mithridian command vessel, Vexella showed the message to Fleet Commander Zorvac, who responded with the equivalent of laughter. "Remarkable," he said. "They truly believe they have options. Begin the first phase of population processing. Target their military installations first. They need to understand the futility of resistance." What the Mithridians couldn't know was that during those precious 48 hours, humanity had already begun to adapt in ways they couldn't anticipate, and the first phase of Earth's actual response was already in motion. The unexpected response. Captain Maya Okonkwo of the ISU Pathfinder had never expected to find herself in this position. Her vessel, designed primarily for exploration and scientific research, now represented one of humanity's few remaining military assets in space. Hiding in the shadow of a large asteroid, she watched her tactical display with growing tension as Mithridian scout vessels swept the belt. "They're being thorough," Lieutenant Rodriguez observed from the weapons station. Standard search pattern, but they're adapting to the asteroid field's unique characteristics. Maya nodded. They're efficient. I'll give them that. The Pathfinder wasn't alone. 4 other Earth vessels had escaped the initial assault, along with 3 space mining platforms that had been operating in the belt when the attack began. Together, they formed a meager flotilla, humanity's impromptu resistance. Commander Reyes is counting on us, Maya reminded her crew. We need to make this work. Their plan was audacious to the point of insanity. During the 3 months of cultural exchange, the Mithridians had allowed humans to observe their vessels, even providing tours of non-essential systems. What they hadn't realized was how quickly human engineers and scientists could reverse engineer concepts from mere observation. Dr. Emily Sato, the Pathfinder's chief science officer, had been particularly observant during her tour of a Mithridian auxiliary vessel. Their shield harmonics operate on predictable frequencies, she explained to the assembled captains via secure link. They cycle through a pattern. It's efficient and powerful, but it follows rules. Rules can be exploited, Captain Nkosi of the mining platform Olympus added. And we have something they don't expect us to use. The mining platforms have been equipped with extremely powerful cutting lasers designed to slice through asteroids. They weren't weapons, not in any traditional military sense, but with modifications, they could deliver tremendous energy on precise frequencies. We've analyzed the shield cycling pattern, Dr. Seto continued. There's a microsecond vulnerability when they transition between harmonic states. If we time our energy delivery precisely at that moment, we can punch through their shields. Maya finished. But we'll only get one chance before they adapt. Their opportunity came sooner than expected. A Mithridian patrol vessel veered closer to their hiding position, its sensors sweeping the area with methodical precision. They've detected something, Rodriguez warned. They're changing course to investigate. Maya made a split-second decision. Signal the Olympus. We're implementing Phase 1 now. What followed was a precisely choreographed sequence that had been rehearsed dozens of times over the past 36 hours. The Pathfinder emerged from hiding, apparently attempting to escape. The Mithridian vessel immediately gave chase, exactly as predicted. They're taking the bait, Maya said, watching the tactical display. Executing evasive pattern delta. The Pathfinder weaved through the asteroid field, seemingly desperate and disorganized. The Mithridian vessel followed, confident in its superior technology and firepower. They're charging weapons, Rodriguez reported. Shield impact in 5 seconds. Maya's hand tightened on the arm of her command chair. Hold course. The Mithridian vessel fired, a pulse of energy streaking toward the Pathfinder. At the last possible moment, the Earth ship executed a maneuver that would have been considered reckless under any other circumstances, diving behind a small asteroid. The Mithridian energy weapon struck the asteroid, shattering it, and revealing the mining platform Olympus on the other side, its massive cutting laser already aligned with the Mithridian vessel. Now, Maya ordered. The Olympus fired, its beam precisely timed to hit the Mithridian shield during a microsecond transition between harmonic states. The shield flickered but held, mostly. A fraction of the energy penetrated, striking the vessel's propulsion system. The Mithridian ship lurched, its graceful movements suddenly erratic. Direct hit on their propulsion, Rodriguez confirmed, unable to keep the surprise from his voice. They're disabled. Before they can signal for help, Maya ordered, boarding teams, move. This was the truly audacious part of the plan. While the Mithridians had shown humans their ships, they had never revealed the specifics of their computer systems or control interfaces. The boarding teams would be flying blind, attempting to capture a vessel with technology they barely understood. What the Mithridians hadn't accounted for was humanity's unique advantages. Throughout human history, soldiers had been required to operate captured enemy equipment with minimal training. Hackers had been breaching complex systems for centuries. Human adaptability, evolved over thousands of years of rapidly changing environments and technologies, was about to be demonstrated on a galactic scale. The boarding teams, led by Commander Diaz, breached the Mithridian vessel's hull at predetermined points. They encountered immediate resistance from the ship's crew, but the element of surprise gave them a critical advantage. "We've secured the engine room," Diaz reported after 20 tense minutes, moving toward what we think is the bridge. Meanwhile, on Earth, similar adaptations were occurring at breathtaking speed. When the Mithridians began their promised strikes against military installations, they encountered unexpected resistance. Human forces had evacuated most facilities, leaving behind automated systems and traps specifically designed to gather data on Mithridian weapons. In the underground Rocky Mountain facility, Dr. Chen analyzed the incoming data streams with increasing excitement. "Their energy weapons operate on principles similar to what they showed us," she told Commander Reyes. "They're more advanced, certainly, but they follow the same basic physics." "Can we counter them?" Reyes asked. "Not directly, not yet," Chen admitted. "But we've identified a pattern in their targeting systems. They rely heavily on thermal signatures and electromagnetic emissions." General Santos caught on immediately. "So if we mask those signatures?" "Exactly," Chen confirmed. "We can't match their firepower, but we can make it harder for them to find targets." Within hours, the information was distributed to resistance cells worldwide. Military and civilian engineers worked side by side, developing countermeasures that would have been considered impossible just days earlier. Thermal blankets, electromagnetic dampening fields cobbled together from repurposed civilian technology, and decoys designed to mimic human signatures began appearing on battlefields across the planet. The Mithridians' response was telling. Rather than adapting quickly, they simply increased the intensity of their attacks, seemingly baffled by the sudden decrease in effectiveness. "They're not used to resistance," Reyes observed. "They expected us to follow the pattern of those 43 other species." In space, the human flotilla achieved their first major victory. Commander Diaz's team not only captured the Mithridian patrol vessel, but managed to access its computer systems. "We're in," Diaz reported, his voice strained but triumphant. "Their interfaces are unusual, but we figured out the basic navigation and weapons systems." "What about communications?" Maya asked. "That's the interesting part," Diaz replied. "Their communication protocols are actually less secure than ours in some ways. They don't seem to have developed encryption to the level we have, probably because they haven't needed to fight an enemy on equal technological footing for centuries." This revelation changed everything. Within hours, human hackers began intercepting and decrypting Mithridian communications. The intelligence gathered was invaluable, revealing not only their immediate plans, but also something unexpected: uncertainty among the Mithridian leadership. "They're confused," Dr. Chen reported, reviewing the decrypted messages. "They expected us to be crushed within days, both physically and psychologically. Our resistance doesn't fit their models." Commander Reyes allowed herself a small smile. "Good. Confusion leads to mistakes." The next phase of humanity's response was implemented within 3 days of the initial attack. Using the captured Mithridian vessel as a Trojan horse, Captain Maya led a daring raid on one of the orbital platforms the aliens had established above Earth. The raid succeeded beyond all expectations, resulting in the capture of crucial Mithridian technology and the liberation of human prisoners. Among the captured technology was something the humans had only theorized about: a quantum entanglement communication device that allowed instantaneous communication across vast distances, undetectable by conventional means. "This changes everything," Dr. Chen breathed as she examined the device. "We can coordinate globally without them intercepting our communications." The global resistance, which had been fragmented and disorganized, suddenly became a unified force. Attacks were coordinated across continents, timed to maximum effect. Human forces began targeting specific vulnerabilities in Mithridian technology, vulnerabilities the aliens had never needed to address because no opponent had ever survived long enough to exploit them. A week into the conflict, the Mithridians made their first tactical retreat, pulling back from several major cities to consolidate their forces. In space, the captured patrol vessel, now rechristened the ISU Defiance, began conducting hit-and-run attacks on Mithridian supply lines. Fleet Commander Zorvac summoned Ambassador Vexala to his command center. "This situation is unprecedented," he stated without preamble. "No pre-ascension species has ever mounted such effective resistance." Vexala's composure, for the first time, showed cracks. "Their adaptability exceeds all projections. They're learning and implementing our technology at rates we thought impossible." "The Alliance Council is concerned," Zorvac replied. "They're questioning our assessment of this species. Perhaps they should have been approached differently." "It's too late for that consideration," Vexala said. "We must increase pressure, show them the true extent of our capabilities." Zorvac hesitated. "That would involve civilian casualties on a scale that might render this planet's resources unusable for decades." "We have no choice," Vexala insisted. "If we allowed this resistance to continue, other integrated species might take notice. The stability of the entire alliance could be threatened." What neither of them realized was that their entire conversation was being monitored through the quantum entanglement device. In the Rocky Mountain facility, Commander Reyes listened with grim satisfaction. "They're worried," she told Earth's United Leadership Council. "And they should be. Because we're just getting started. Turning the tide." 3 weeks into the conflict, Earth had become something the galaxy hadn't seen in centuries, a battlefield where the overwhelming technological advantage of the Mithridian Alliance faced a genuine challenge. Human resistance had evolved from desperate last stands to coordinated, strategic operations that consistently exploited weaknesses in Mithridian systems. In orbit, the situation had transformed dramatically. The captured Mithridian vessel, the Defiance, had been joined by 2 more prizes, taken using the same techniques that had proven successful in the initial capture. These vessels, operated by human crews who learned alien systems with remarkable speed, conducted raids on Mithridian supply lines and communication relays. Fleet Commander Zorvac faced growing pressure from the Alliance Council. This was supposed to be a standard integration operation. The Council representative reminded him, the quantum communication rendering the aliens' frustration in perfect fidelity. Instead, it has become the most costly action in 3 centuries. "The humans are unusual," Zorvac replied carefully. "Their technological development is primitive, yet their ability to adapt and implement new concepts exceeds anything in our records." "The Council is concerned about contagion," the representative continued. "If other integrated species learn of this resistance—" "I understand," Zorvac interrupted. "We are implementing the final protocol." The final protocol involved deploying the Alliance's most devastating weapon, a gravity manipulation device capable of creating localized tectonic instability. In simple terms, they plan to trigger catastrophic earthquakes beneath Earth's major population centers, a demonstration of power so absolute that resistance would become unthinkable. What the Mithridians didn't know was that their secure communications about this protocol had already been intercepted by human intelligence. In the Rocky Mountain facility, Earth's Leadership Council received the news with grim determination. "They're escalating to planetary-scale weapons," Commander Reyes informed the assembled leaders. "They plan to deploy in approximately 36 hours. Can we stop them?" President Okafor asked, the weight of billions of lives evident in his voice. Dr. Chen stepped forward. "We believe so. Their gravity technology operates on principles similar to what they demonstrated during the cultural exchange. Our physicists have been working on countermeasures since we first recognized the potential threat." "Working on countermeasures is not the same as having them ready," General Santos pointed out. "True," Chen admitted, "but we have something they don't expect: direct access to their command and control systems through the captured vessels." The plan that formed over the next few hours was audacious even by the standards of humanity's recent innovations. It involved simultaneous operations on the ground and in space, coordinated through the captured quantum entanglement devices. Captain Maya Okonkwo, now commanding a small fleet of captured Mithridian vessels, would lead a direct assault on the command ship where the gravity weapons were being prepared. Meanwhile, on Earth, specialized teams would infiltrate key Mithridian ground installations to disrupt their coordination. This is beyond high risk, Maya warned during the planning session. If they realize what we're doing, they could deploy the weapons immediately. Which is why timing is everything, Rice replied. We need a distraction, something so unexpected that it draws their complete attention. That distraction came in the form of what appeared to be a massive human surrender. White flags were raised over major cities worldwide. Communications were sent requesting terms. Ambassador Vexola, who had been increasingly sidelined as the military aspects of the operation took precedence, was suddenly thrust back into prominence. They're breaking, she told Fleet Commander Zorvak with evident relief. The psychological aspects of the integration are proceeding as expected, just delayed. Zorvak was less convinced. This seems too sudden. Their resistance has been remarkably cohesive until now. They've seen our preparations, Vexilla countered. They understand what comes next. This is rational surrender. Exactly what we expected from the beginning. As Mithridian forces focused on the apparent human capitulation, Captain Maya's fleet made their move. Using data gleaned from captured systems, they approached the command vessel through a sensor blind spot. Another vulnerability the Mithridians had never needed to address. The assault was precise and devastating. Maya's forces targeted key systems identified through intelligence gathering, propulsion, weapons, and most importantly, the control mechanisms for the gravity weapons. Simultaneously, on Earth, infiltration teams breached Mithridian ground installations. These teams included not just soldiers but hackers, engineers, and scientists, individuals who had spent the past weeks studying alien technology with obsessive focus. The Mithridians, caught completely off guard, responded with confusion. Their command structure, designed for the methodical integration of compliant species, proved ill-suited for the chaos of genuine warfare. In the command vessel, Fleet Commander Zorvak watched in disbelief as system after system failed. How is this possible? He demanded. Their technology is centuries behind ours. The answer came in a transmission from the lead human vessel, a face Zorvak recognized as Captain Maya Okonkwo. You made a fundamental error in your assessment of our species, she stated calmly. You measured us by our technology, not our capacity to adapt. Throughout our history, humans have faced existential threats from nature, from each other, from our own creations. We survived by adapting, by turning weaknesses into strengths, by finding paths you would never consider. On the ground, the infiltration teams completed their objectives with remarkable efficiency. Mithridian ground forces, suddenly cut off from Central Command, found themselves facing humans who understood the weaknesses of their equipment better than they did themselves. Within hours, the tide had turned decisively. The gravity weapons were neutralized before they could be deployed. The Mithridian command structure was in disarray, and perhaps most significantly, other ships from the Alliance fleet began to withdraw from Earth orbit. In the Rocky Mountain facility, Commander Reyes received reports with cautious optimism. They're retreating to the outer system, she informed the Leadership Council. Captain Maya has control of their command vessel. Is this victory? President Okafor asked. Not yet, Reyes replied. But it's leverage. Using the captured command systems, Earth sent a message to the Mithridian Alliance Council. Not a surrender, but a proposal. The terms were straightforward. The Mithridian forces would withdraw completely from the Sol system. In exchange, humanity would not share what they had learned about Mithridian vulnerabilities with the other integrated species. The implication was clear. Humanity now possessed the knowledge to potentially destabilize the entire alliance. The response came within hours. A high-ranking council member requested direct negotiations, What followed was unprecedented in the history of the Alliance, a galactic power negotiating with a pre-ascension species as equals. Your resistance has been instructive, the council member acknowledged during the initial exchange. Perhaps our categorization of your species was premature. Perhaps, Commander Reyes replied, your entire approach to galactic civilization needs reconsideration. The negotiations lasted for days, with both sides learning more about each other than the initial contact had ever allowed. What emerged was a new understanding. The Mithridian Alliance had grown complacent in its power, assuming that technological superiority equated to superiority in all things. Humanity offered a different model, cooperative development that respected the unique strengths of each species. Several members of the Alliance, particularly those who had been more recently integrated, showed immediate interest in this approach. They're fracturing, Dr. Chen observed as reports came in from the negotiations. Some of them see us as an opportunity, not a threat. 3 months after the initial Mithridian arrival, their remaining forces departed the Sol system, but they didn't leave alone. Human diplomats, scientists, and observers accompanied them, not as subjects or specimens, but as representatives of a new galactic power. In her final address before departing with the Alliance delegation, Captain Maya Okonkwo summarized what many were thinking. They came expecting to find another species to absorb into their hierarchy. Instead, they found humanity, adaptable, innovative, and undeterred by seemingly impossible odds. Today marks not just our survival, but our introduction to the galaxy as we truly are. A species that doesn't know when to quit, that finds solutions where others see only obstacles, and that transforms existential threats into opportunities for advancement. As the Mithridian vessels disappeared into the depths of space, they carried with them a message that would soon spread throughout the galaxy. When you push humanity to the edge, prepare to be surprised by what emerges from the pressure. The day Earth stood its ground became the day the galaxy learned what humans can really do when threatened, and nothing in the cosmic order would ever be quite the same again.